Hello, everyone. I was just cleaning my room, but I decided to take a break from that to talk about. Well, yeah. I just decided to take a break from that to paint and talk about something that I am very passionate about. So I wanted to give. Because there's not many of these, full rundowns of a certain mental disorder on YouTube. There's icebergs and stuff, and there's these informational videos and stuff from a health YouTube channel or something. But you can't really find a full video explanation from someone who actually has from someone who actually has have oh from someone who actually has the disorder on YouTube in depth. Like, I don't think I've ever actually watched a video of someone talking about OCD in depth and they actually have been taught on this subject. I have OCD and I have pretty intense OCD actually. So I kind of wanted to do something where I paint kind of like my little commentary videos where I paint, and I wanted to talk about OCD, and I wanted to talk about the symptoms, the stigma around it, and I want to inform you guys on stuff about OCD. So whether you just put this video on in the background, or you want to watch this to help a family member or friend or something like that, or you just want to learn more about OCD, this is a good video for you. So I'm just gonna paint, so I have something to do with my hands, and also so I don't have to look directly at the camera, because I feel very I guess uncomfortable on camera. I don't know, I'm very insecure, so it's hard for me to be on camera, but I want to try to get through that with some exposure. So I'm gonna try painting and focusing my energy on that while I talk about and inform you guys on OCD. So let's get started. I might prop you guys up a little bit so I'm not looking down and it's awkward. Hold up. I have a lot of stuff on my desk and it's really annoying. Okay. Yeah, you guys are a little more propped up. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. If it falls, I'll fix it, but okay. So a lot of people, especially people who are teenagers and my age, don't actually know what OCD is. OCD is an acronym, which a lot of mental disorders are, is an acronym for obsessive compulsive disorder. It is an amalgamation of many different symptoms, but the most common symptoms, and the two main ones that make the disorder what it is obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are thoughts or feelings that arise that are kind of hard to get rid of, and compulsions are things that someone will do to try to nullify or get rid of that feeling. So let's say an obsession came up, or an intrusive thought came up, where I was worried that my doors were not locked, and the thought could be what if someone could break into my house? I would say my brain would bring that up, and it would be an uncomfortable thought. And it's usually the intrusive thoughts are what ifs. What if this happens? What if this happens? Not always, but those are very common. So I'll think, well, what if my doors are unlocked at night? I can't go to sleep until my doors are locked. So I would go check the back door and go check the front door, and maybe unlock and lock the door a couple times to make sure they're locked. And many people will do it multiple times. It'll be a repetitive thing. some people need, like, equality in things. Like, let's say you were eating M&Ms and you needed an equal number of red and blue M&Ms. Sometimes people will recount each color to make sure they didn't miscount. Like, that's why sometimes doing schoolwork is difficult, because you always go back and check and check and check. That's a type of OCD, checking OCD, where people with checking OCD will go back and recount or redo or, like, check over and over again. Did I do this right? Did this go the way I wanted it to? And it's usually just to calm themselves. Like, they could do it many, many times, and it'll be obvious that what they checked is, like, doesn't need to be checked anymore, but they still do it again and again just to make sure, just in case. It's a very repetitive disorder. Symptoms of OCD, they vary a lot. OCD is one of those complicated disorders where it doesn't have, like, many, it has a lot of symptoms that come with it that can be mistaken for other disorders. Like, before I got diagnosed with OCD, I was checked for ADHD because I was anxious and I couldn't sit still, and I would stim all the time. If you don't know what stimming is, it's like repetitive motions that your body is inclined to do. Not like tics where you're not, like, able to stop them, but it's kind of like movements that are comforting for people. A lot of people with autism, ADHD, and, surprise, surprise, even OCD do to calm themselves. So I was tested for ADHD because of my, like, hyperactive thoughts and whatnot. And many people with OCD will get tested for stuff like ADHD, maybe even bipolar, schizophrenia, autism, stuff like that, before they realize they have OCD. And that's how wide the symptoms are if they get mixed up with so many different disorders. And if you want to talk about your experience with getting diagnosed in the comments, I'd love to hear, like, some other stories about it. But anyways, some symptoms of OCD include, like, delusional thoughts and paranoia. Intrusive thoughts can come up, like, what if someone's behind me? Or what if, like, sorry, talking about this stuff is a little bit difficult for me. But, like, what if I get hurt? What if this? What if that? And it makes a lot of people really, like, nervous, really anxious, really scared. Some people won't be able to, like, get out of their house some days because they're so worried that someone's gonna, like, kidnap them or something like that. Like, something related to, like, them getting hurt or something horrible happening. And it's really debilitating not being able to, like, leave your house out of the comfort of your home. Like, some people will, like, take time off work or, like, not be able to go anywhere, all because of their debilitating symptoms. And it's really difficult for them. Delusions can also, like, form around, like, the thoughts like that. In extreme cases, like, delusions like, oh, there's actually someone trying to hurt me or something like that. Stuff like that can happen with OCD, and it's very harmful to the person, and it's really difficult to control. Other symptoms include picking at skin. Actually, there is a type of OCD where hair pulling and skin picking are actually the main symptoms. I forgot what it's called, but it's a form of OCD where it's, like, a continuous, like, kind of, like, stress where they pull their hair or they pick out their skin or itch their skin. I itch a lot. which is not good because I also have eczema. So, itching from stress can happen with OCD. Itching from anxiety can happen from OCD. Um, as well as another common symptom, which is hoarding. A lot of people, a common misconception about OCD is that um, people are very tidy and neat, which can happen with OCD, like with people who require neatness or require cleanliness, who are like germaphobes. That's a very common sign of OCD, but the opposite can also be said, where it's difficult to throw things away. I actually do have a hoarding problem. So I know a lot about it. It's a feeling that you're worried that you'll need something later, even if it's useless to someone else. Like, I will save cans, I will save trash, anything that thinks it'll, like, that I think will have another use. Instead of throwing it out or recycling it, I just feel the constant need to keep it or stockpile it or hold it for later. And it's really difficult because it it makes your living situation very hard, and it makes it hard to clean, and it makes it hard to throw things away and let go of things. Um so things like, let's say cans. I collect soda cans, monster cans, anything like that. A lot of people collect them for crafts, but I mostly collect them because they feel good. I don't know why, but it'll eventually I'll get like piles and piles of them, and it'll be really hard to get rid of. And it'll start making my space like worse and worse, but it's hard to throw away because you feel like that object still has use, and it feels bad and it feels horrible to throw that away, because what if I need it for something? What if it's still useful? What if I'm just being wasteful? I'm a bad person. Your brain just starts to spiral, and it starts to move and give you thoughts that, what if this, what if that? And it's a very quick tempered way of thinking, and it's not fun, clearly. Um, so, if you couldn't tell, OCD has a ton of different symptoms. There are also different types of OCD. Um, People can have multiple different types. Like, I have multiple different types of OCD. Their types of OCD are classified based off of intrusive thoughts. So, there is something called harm OCD, where it's an intrusive thoughts about, oh, what if I hurt someone? What if someone hurts me? What if I hurt myself? These thoughts often happen when you're around, like, things that can cause harm. So let's say you were cooking food and there was a knife on the counter to, like, cut the food and stuff. Someone with OCD might distance themselves from the knife and not be able to cook because they are worried if they pick up the knife, they will hurt themselves or they will hurt others. Of course, they won't. And like 9 out of 10 times, OCD patients will not hurt themselves or others if they are given a weapon. But that fear that they think they're gonna, like, it makes them unable to, like, hold on to something like that. And that's what a lot of intrusive thoughts are. It's like your brain being a bully to you. It's like a constant thing of your brain telling you horrible things, and you have to tell your brain, no, I wouldn't do that. But your brain is saying, oh, but what if you do? Like, you're gonna do that. You're gonna hurt someone. And it's really difficult because you're constantly worried that you're gonna get, like, that you're gonna hurt someone, when usually patients, they don't hurt someone. Actually, they're less likely to hurt people because they're so worried about hurting people that they distance themselves from either people or from certain objects, like knives, or like sometimes pills, sometimes like other weapons, maybe even large objects, just anything that they are scared of. Another type of OCD is the kind of germaphobe OCD that is very popular in media, I guess. Um, it's where it's the fear of, what if I'm not clean? What if I get sick? What if I feel unclean? What if I smell bad? It's basically cleanliness and needing to be clean and needing to have that feeling of cleanness, as well as needing to like feel healthy and not being sick. So people with OCD like that may take constant showers, like I take constant showers. It's actually a big problem, but or repetitively wash their hands, put on hand sanitizer all the time, or they'll avoid touching things, they'll avoid eating things, drinking things, going certain places because of the fear of getting sick or the fear of being dirty or something like that. And they may also clean their space. A lot of people with OCD actually sometimes have hoarding and like the germaphobe OCD. And it makes it difficult because it's like two different parts of your brain counteracting each other. So like I want to be clean, but I also need this object, so I can't clean it, but also it's dirty, so I need to clean it. And it's yeah. Um there's also a couple types of OCD that involve um more stigmatized scenarios. So things like OCD involving sexuality and involving pedophilia especially. Those types of OCD can be very damaging for a person and their self-esteem and their self-image, because it's basically intrusive thoughts that involve like harmful sexual acts to other people, which they know they're not gonna act on those acts, but they have this fear that they will. They have this fear that, what if I do this? What if I do that? And especially with things like involving those topics, it's really hard to talk to other people about it. So if you know someone with that type of OCD, you should really let them know that they are not a bad person and that you don't think that they're weird because of it. Because that is probably one of the most stigmatized types of OCD, and it's very hard to talk about because of either censors or people taking it the wrong way. But an example would be some people with OCD like that could like go out to a park or something like that and see a kid or a dog or another person their age, and their brain will tell them, oh, what if you like that person and that's wrong? What if you like that kid? What if you like it's hard because it makes you feel like a gross person. Especially some parents could have this type of OCD and feel scared to be around their kids, or feel worried about taking care of their kids or their pets, or maybe their siblings or something like that, because there's this constant fear of, what if I would commit this immoral act to like my child or my pet or my sibling or something like that. This type of OCD is actually very common, but it's very hard to talk about because many people like don't take it the right way, or many people are scared that they will like look like a bad person if they talk about it. But just so everyone knows, people with OCD who have those intrusive thoughts are not bad people. They just have thoughts that they can't get rid of. They aren't harmful people. They just have scenarios in their head that they can't like contain. So if you have OCD and you have those thoughts, just know that it is completely normal, and you can limit those thoughts as much as possible, and it just takes time. There are also types of OCD that involve faith and religion. A lot of these actually stem from trauma, usually, or if you are a religious person currently, it can happen. I used to be a Mormon. I'm an ex-Mormon, and I actually have religious OCD. I'm a Christian now, but I still have, like problems from when I was in that church. So, a lot of people, especially of Christian faith, will feel like what if God hates me, or what if I'm being immoral or something like that. And it'll really mess with them, because they'll feel like a bad person, or they'll feel like they have less worth or something like that. And it's hard, especially in religious spaces, to have those thoughts and not be able to talk about it with people. So if you're religious and you have like someone in your like space who has OCD or who has those intrusive thoughts, please tell them that like they are worth it, and that they're not a bad person, and just reinforce the fact that you've got them, okay? Just yeah. Okay. Now we're gonna talk about the stigma around OCD. OCD is, among other mental disorders, it's really hard to communicate about. So people will kind of transfigure it into their own like form. Yeah. People usually think OCD is all about cleanliness, all about being orderly, just being uptight, kind of needing everything the right way, or I'm so OCD this picture frame is wrong, or something like that. What it actually is a disorder with many different types, with many different people. Everyone suffers from the disorder differently. Everyone recovers from trauma that comes with this disorder differently. So it's not just all about being tidy. It's not just all about being clean. There are types of OCD that are about being clean or having obsessions with being tidy and stuff, but that's not all OCD is. OCD is also not something like to be taken lightly. I see a lot of people like ranking, kind of. That's probably not the best term to use for it, but I would say like thinking of other mental disorders as like worse than one. Which, yes, there are mental disorders that people suffer from that have different severities, but every like a mental disorder is a mental disorder. It is a disorder, it is a disability. It's not something that is like, it's not something that's easy to cope with. It has struggles. So when people like take different disorders more lightly than others, it's very difficult for people to find their communities. It's very difficult for people to find help. So with things like more, I see a lot of people saying that the more common the disorder, or like referencing that the more common the disorder is, the like less severe it is. So things like anxiety and depression that are way more common, or ADHD that are like you see more people have, people will take them less seriously than things like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. That's very similar with OCD. A lot of people will use it as like an adjective. A lot of people will use it as an adjective to describe themselves. I'm so OCD, or oh, I'm so bipolar. I'm depressed. I'm just feeling anxious today. A lot of the times when people say that, they don't mean it in a hurtful way. But it's really hard to get rid of the stigma around these disorders, especially OCD, if they're just used as an adjective. So with OCD, it is seen as a cleaning disorder, it's seen as less severe, and it's seen as an adjective, and it's none of that at all. It's difficult for people who struggle with it, and it's difficult to get through, and a lot of people like have horrible days because of it. And though you can get better from it's usually lifelong. So you're gonna live with it forever. And it's not something that should be taken lightly, is what I'm trying to say. And that goes with every single disorder, whether it's common, uncommon, whether it's stigmatized or unstigmatized. It's still should be taken seriously. It shouldn't be seen as something that's a trend. It shouldn't be something that's popularized. It should be handled as a medical condition. And with that, I want to go into common treatments for OCD. I'm currently under treatment right now. Therapy is usually the go-to thing for OCD. Sometimes medication helps. Medications like antihistamines, which are usually allergy medication, but like they're also used for like mental disorders. So anxiety medications, and depression medications also like help with OCD. So, usually, I believe it's like Zoloft, I think is the most common one. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, the most common one would be Zoloft for people with OCD, but there are a couple other, like, suggestions. Prozac works for OCD. I think that's less recommended by psychiatrists, depending on the person. I'm not quite sure. I haven't tried all of them. That sounds so funny, like, trying them. Come with me to try a new medication for my OCD, or whatever. Yeah. But, medications can help with OCD, but it doesn't get rid of it. It helps with the anxiety that comes with OCD, and it helps managing it. There's also, like, as-needed anxiety medications, because a lot of people with OCD also have, like, an anxiety disorder, like social anxiety, or generalized anxiety, like a panic disorder, a paranoia disorder. So, as-needed medications help with, like, panic attacks that are stemmed from OCD. But usually therapy is the go-to. There's actually something that is called CBT. CBT is short for cognitive behavioral therapy. It is basically a type of therapy that stems from exposure work. So it takes something that you struggle with and exposes you to it, because people with OCD often have avoidance issues. So they avoid that thought by doing something to, like, cure it. So by exposing yourself to it, it builds up, like, kind of brain stamina over time to help you manage the thoughts better. So let's say I was going to a restaurant and I didn't get ice with my soda. This is true to me, actually. I hate getting ice at restaurants because my OCD tells me that it'll get me sick. So I will go into that restaurant and I will, instead of avoiding the ice, I will get the ice and I will drink my soda. And at first, when you do it, it'll be uncomfortable. You might feel anxious and panic, and it'll feel like the therapy is not working. But over time, you keep getting ice in your soda, you keep going out to restaurants and getting ice in your soda, and you do that, and you drink the soda, and you keep going multiple times, and you do that over time, and eventually, you'll be able to tell your brain that I'm not sick from the ice, I'm not sick from my soda, because nothing happened. I'm safe, I'm not dying, I'm not unhealthy, so it gets easier to manage over time. Also with, like, hoarding. It'll be uncomfortable to clean up after hoarding for a while, but after you keep cleaning, and after you keep forgetting about the objects that you were hoarding, and after your room feels cleaner, you start to build up, like, a sort of mental stamina where you're able to tell your brain that I didn't actually need this. It's actually okay. And that's basically what CBT is. It's exposing yourself to something that your intrusive thoughts surround on. And it's a little more difficult depending on what your intrusive thought is, or how severe it is, or what the situation is. But CBT actually does work, and I think everyone with OCD definitely should look into therapy. Or actually, I have a book. About cognitive behavioral therapy. It's not specifically for OCD. I have a different one for that, actually. I'll recommend 2 books today. So, I've got 2 books to recommend, maybe to, like, end off this video. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Made Simple, 10 Strategies for Managing Anxiety, Depression, Anger, Panic, and Worry, which are all symptoms that come from OCD or things that stem from OCD. It's by Seth J. Gillihan, PhD. And it's basically about coping mechanisms and about cognitive behavioral therapy, and it gives examples, and it gives ways to cope with anxiety, depression, panic, stuff like that. It's been very helpful for me, actually. Another thing that, this is probably my favorite book for OCD, is the Mindfulness Workbook for OCD. This was recommended by my uncle, who is an OCD therapist. It's by John Hirschfield, MFT, and Tom Corboy, MFT. Why are their names so difficult? But this is what the book looks like. I know it's backwards, but, like, you can still get the gist of it if it's backwards. But it's a workbook, unlike the other one, and it has different parts based off of different types of OCD. So I'll read all the different parts off. So if you struggle, so there's just an introduction to cognitive behavioral therapy. But there's stuff for contamination OCD, response, like checking OCD, just right OCD, which is where something needs to be like perfect, harm OCD, sexual orientation OCD, pedophilia themed OCD, relationship themed OCD, scrupulosity, which is religious OCD or moral obsessions, hyper-awareness OCD, which is where, you know, when you breathe on command, or like you need to like blink on command, that's actually a symptom of OCD. Not everyone who does that has OCD, but that is a big part of OCD. Emotional and mental contamination OCD, existential OCD, which is like cosmic stuff. I have that. And real event, false memory, and stuck thought obsessions. Actually, another thing that comes with OCD is false memories, where memories are created by your mind and you don't know if they're real or not. But this is a really great workbook, and if you can't afford therapy or stuff like that, I definitely recommend, getting this and this. I'm sure you can find them on Amazon and stuff. Take a screenshot. Yeah. If you struggle with OCD and you can't afford therapy, these are really good to work with, for your OCD, or if you have depression, anxiety, stuff like that, you can work with cognitive behavioral therapy. Works for all of those. But anyways, this video is really long, but I wanted to give a full rundown on OCD. If you want me to go more in depth, I could try making a part 2, or I could go in depth on, like, types of OCD. I can make shorts on, like, types of OCD and explaining those. And I can also, give some story times about, like, my experience with OCD. If you need to talk to anyone about your OCD, or if you, like, need someone who struggles with the same OCD, I am on Instagram under the same name. I will put a link in my bio and on the pinned comment. So just DM me if you need to talk about, like, your OCD, or if you have any questions to help a friend or family member, or if you need help, like deciding whether or not you should go to therapy for it. I am all open to questions. I am all open to helping out, and if you need anyone to talk to, I am here. Random person on the internet is here to answer some questions about this very stigmatized disorder. Thank you for watching this very long, almost 40-minute rant video. My voice kind of hurts already, but I want to make more videos like this because you can only draw so much without your fingers starting to fall off. So I'm going to make more commentary videos, whether they get popular or not. I like to get myself out there, and I like to talk. And if you didn't notice that already, well, I'll make more fun, lighthearted videos in the future, but right now I'm in a slump, so I think that's what my channel is going to be in for a while. But thank you so much for watching today, guys. I appreciate all of you guys. We're at 200 and something now, so I'm really happy, and I'm really grateful that people care about what I say. But yeah, thank you. Have a good day, night, afternoon, morning, dawn, dusk, evening, whatever. And I love you all. Bye-bye.